Real quick before we start, we've streamlined our contact info. From now on, if you have any questions, feedback, or ideas for future guests, just shoot us an email at chat62podcast@gmail.com. All right, let's go. Hey everyone, this is Eric. Today I sit down with retired Marine Corps Chief Warrant Officer 2, Jon Cole. From Bull Rider to Marine, from enlisted to warrant officer, from Iraq and Afghanistan to a medical retirement after 16 years in uniform. Jon's story spans multiple identity shifts along the way. I'll fix this in post. We talk about who Jon was before the uniform, where he was on 9/11, how war shaped him across different seasons of leadership, and what it's like serving during the COVID era, and what it means to step away from the Corps when the decision isn't entirely yours. This is not just a conversation about rank or deployments. It's about evolution, in uniform and after it, and the stories we carry long after the uniform comes off. Jon, welcome to Chat 62.
Hey, thanks. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you again for coming on, sir. And we had a good little pre-interview conversation, and I'm glad everything went well with that podcast.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a different dynamic. First time doing a live session, but it was fun. It was really good.
I'm sure there's going to be many more ahead of the road. I have a pre-recording icebreaker. When you were 21, did you picture life unfolding the way it did?
Not even close, man. When I turned 21, I was 3 years into my bull riding career and really wasn't thinking about the Marine Corps. And so I say thinking about the Marine Corps because I was going to join before, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Yeah, when I was 21, I definitely didn't see myself even close to where I am today.
Yeah, 21 is like a forever ago. It's like another lifetime.
Yeah. It'll be 20 years ago this April.
Wow. Yeah, I'm closing in on 30 in November since I first stepped on the Yellow Footprints. So yeah, it's a trip how much time flies.
It does, man.
It really is. Who was Jon Cole at 21 before the Marine Corps?
I was somebody who thought he knew where he wanted to go in life and who he wanted to be or what he wanted to be. So kind of rewind a little bit before I was 21. I graduated high school in 2003. Obviously, 9/11 happened a year or so prior to this. I was supposed to join the Marine Corps then. I was actually supposed to go to recruit training June 9th, 2003. But I started riding bulls my senior year of high school. Thought it would be a cool idea. Some of my buddies did it. So I was like, you know what? Sounded like fun. Also, I was already in the depth. And so I started looking into doing bull riding also. And there's actually an Armed Forces Rodeo Association. And I was like, well, shoot, I could be a bull rider and a Marine all at the same time. Let's go do that. That'd be kind of cool. But I hurt my knee. And at this point in time, I'd already been in the depth for about 10-ish months, roughly, almost 11 months. Whoa. So it was getting like right around ship time for me. Went into my recruiter's office, like, know what had happened. I was on crutches at this point, and he's like, look, man, he's like, with you being hurt, I can't send you to recruit training. He's like, and you've been in the depth for so long. It's like, I can't push you past your ship date, what you're supposed to go. Mm-hmm. And so he told me that he's going to discharge me from the depth. And so we did that. And before I left his office, he's told me I would never think about the Marine Corps again. I made a horrible mistake. And honestly, I didn't think he was wrong at that point. And to be honest, a little cliche sounding, but right after I turned 21, me and some of my buddies I rode bulls with, we were sitting there watching TV one night, and that like old school, like climbing the mountain and defeating the lava monster with the sword, that old school Marine Corps recruiting commercial came on.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I'm not getting any younger. And it's something I still wanted to do. So literally that Saturday morning, I went to the recruiter's office, and I can guarantee you I was the easiest pulley he has ever had. Because I went into his office and said, hey, look, man, I've been through this before. I know what I want to do. I know when I want to leave. Love to go take the ASVAB. And within a week, I was down at MEPS taking ASVAB.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the knee injury was a result of bull riding, correct?
100% was. Yeah. Yeah. I only got injured because I was riding bulls.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Take me back to that injury, you injure your knee, what's going through your head? Does it even at that point even cross your mind, shit, that I just messed up my chances of, getting to my ship out date?
It didn't actually. And even after my recruiter discharged me from the DEP, like, I really don't think I understood what just happened.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, all right, cool, whatever, man. Like, I'm just not going to the Marine Corps then. Like, that was kind of the mentality I had at the time. I was like, all right, I just keep riding bulls. And like a couple of my buddies, they were doing pretty good. I've actually, some of the guys I actually met riding bulls and competed against, they actually made it pretty big in bull riding.
Wow.
So I was like, I could make a career out of that too. So that's what I went and tried to do, and decided a few years down the road that that wasn't for me. That wasn't going to be my end goal any longer. So just kind of decided 2006 to join.
That's what, how many years in between you being discharged from the DEP to going back into, or enlisting once again? How much time passed? About 3 years, right?
Right at 3 years, yeah. I would end up even actually going to recruit training July of 2006.
Let's go ahead. Let's fast forward to 2006 when you're gonna ship out. At that time, were you still going in as a grunt?
So no, I'd actually shifted, and I was going to be coming in as artillery when I was coming in 2006. Also didn't get that job when I came in this time. And if there's any recruiters out there, I'm sorry to badmouth in any way, but I got recruitered, if you would, when I went to MEPS on my ship date. So literally the day I'm shipping out to go to recruit training, the MEPS liaison pulls me in his office and says, hey, I hate to be the one to tell you this, but you can't do artillery because you didn't take geometry in high school. I'm like,
what?
And again, I don't know any better, right? So I'm like, man, that sucks. Okay, well, what about field MP? And he's like, nope, can't do that either. I'm like, well, shoot, what can I do? And he's like, well, we got a refrigerator mechanic. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to work on HVAC systems, dude. Like, I don't want to do that. And he's like, okay, what about warehouse clerk? And I was like, nah, man. I was like, I worked third shift in a warehouse before. Like, I'm definitely not doing that again for long term. And he's like, what about a cook? I'm like, yeah, I definitely don't want to do that either. Like, I've seen a few good men. Like, I've seen what happens to Cookie. Like, I'm good, bro. Like, I was like, well, what else? He's like, what about data systems? And I'm like, well, what is that? He's like, I really don't know, but it's something with computers. And I'm like, man, like, I didn't know anything about computers. Like, the internet really wasn't that big back then either, So here I am, just an old rodeo cowboy from North Carolina. And I'm like, sure, whatever, man. Like, I guess doing something with computers, that'll give me something to do after I get out. So I kind of went with it, and yeah, I was kind of coming in this time. And I think looking back though, I'm kind of glad I didn't get some of those other jobs.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. So you went in 3 years later. So maybe I missed this because I was taking a bunch of notes and I was preoccupied with my connection too. Because I'm like, oh no, please don't get lost. But why did you choose 2006 to enter or to revisit the Marine Corps?
Yeah, so it's actually really cliche. And me and some of my bull riding buddies, we were sitting there watching TV one night. We all rented this house together. We were just watching some TV. And that recruiting commercial came on where that one guy is like climbing the volcano. He goes up and he slays the lava monster. And like, I saw it and I was like, you know what? Like, it's something I still want to do. I'm not getting any younger. And I was like, and I made a decision right then and there. I was like, that's what I want to do. So that following Saturday, that weekend, I went to the recruiter's office and said, hey, this is what I want to do. This is when I want to leave. I want to leave as soon as possible.
So that was the same video you saw back in 2003, and it just happened to come up again, and just instantly reignited that will to go back.
Yeah,
that's a trip how it just goes full circle.
Cliche, like yeah.
All right, so what was boot camp like for you?
It was a culture shock. I went to Paris Island. I was 3rd Battalion Kilo Company. I can't say for like what other battalions or other companies were like. I treated like a recruit literally until graduation day. Yeah. There was no in between. It was receiving, met drill instructors. You got treated like a first grade recruit literally until we graduated. Like on graduation morning, we were running across the parade deck back and forth in our Charlies, back and forth. on graduation day. Aye, sir. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yeah.
It was that humbling reminder, like, hey, you haven't been called a Marine yet, right?
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Yep. Yeah. But what I will say is that it was the worst and best experience I'd ever had in my entire life. Up to that point, I should say. It was hard. I didn't do any kind of like organized sports growing up. I didn't play football or basketball or anything. So I was never really athletic or really worked out or anything. So it was my first time being really physically active a lot. I actually gained 10 pounds in recruit training, but it was muscle that I gained. I went in weighing $160. I graduated at 170. So yeah, but no, it was a great experience. It was rough, but there were times that I was like, man, did I make the right decision? Why am I doing this? I think we all kind of, there's a moment in time at recruit training that we all, I think, have that thought go through our head. Like, man, why did I do this? Did I make the right decision?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Yeah. I think that goes through recruits' head pretty often. Did you have any specific challenges in boot camp, or was it just the whole experience in general?
Honestly, I think the physicality actually was probably the hardest part for me. Like, it really wasn't mentally challenging. Was it mentally challenging? Yeah, but that's not the part that would have broke me. It was the physicality piece of it, and not knowing where my own limits were. So it taught me a lot about myself, because again, I'd never tried to even push myself to my own limits. So I didn't even know where to begin or what that even looked like, but it definitely pushed me to and past my limits. It was very humbling.
How was that first enlistment like for you?
The first half of my first enlistment. So we'll kind of walk through it a little bit. So went to recruit training July of 2006, graduated in October 2006, then went on to MCT and graduated from there. It was almost like around Net Veterans Day, I believe, around that time frame, like November, mid-November-ish. And then went out to 29 Palms for my MOS school. Being a comm guy, we all go to 29 Palms for our MOS school. So went out there, and then I got to the fleet in March of 2007 and got stationed at Camp Pendleton. Again, up until this point, I'd never really left the East Coast and hadn't been anywhere really like amazing or big outside of Charlotte, because like I rode bulls around Charlotte. So like that wasn't really that big of a deal to me. But going to Camp Pendleton in San Diego, that was probably even a more cultural shock for me than going to boot camp, honestly.
And where in Camp Pendleton were you stationed?
We were up in the 32 area. So if you know anything about Camp Pendleton, so it's up on top of the mountain that overlooks the flat line. So that overlooks 22 area. So if you're a West Coast Marine, that's where you do your crucible at and where the rifle range is at on Pendleton. So there's a road that goes up beside the crucible area. So going up that road to the top of that mountain is where my duty station was up there. My barracks was at Camp Del Mar, which was nice. So by the beach.
Yeah.
So that was kind of nice. But yeah, so worked up there. And then by the unit I went to, they were already in rotation for deployment to Iraq. I joined them at the beginning of their workup, went to the field a lot. And then we deployed to Iraq in January of 2008. Went to Camp Fallujah in 2008.
How did that deployment change you?
I wouldn't say so. That deployment actually, like looking back, actually wasn't that bad. And honestly, even being there in the moment, it wasn't that bad, because I was with the Marine Air Support Squadron, so really didn't go outside the wire. Didn't really do a lot. Didn't see a lot. And at this point, Iraq had really kind of started dying down a little bit too. It wasn't as, at least around Camp Fallujah, I should say. I'm not saying the entire theater was a cakewalk, but at least where I was at, it didn't seem as bad for me. Stayed in like little trailer, we called them cans, so it was nice. Had 2 people to a room, had AC, had Xbox in our room, had a nice gym, had a nice chow hall. It was actually pretty good for a first deployment, in my opinion.
From the way you're describing it, it kind of reminds me of CACs out in 29 Palms.
Doing the field exercises. Like looking back, Yeah, looking back, it's a lot like that, actually. I mean, again, being at Camp Fallujah was pretty decent then, especially compared to later on deployment. I definitely feel like as I deployed, they got worse each time.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think the only hard part for me with really that deployment was being out of the country and then coming home to the world still moving. And it feels like nothing to change when I came home, if that makes sense. Like, I don't even know the way to explain it. Like, everybody else's life continued.
Right.
Mine almost stood still in a point in time from when I left to when I came home. It's like that. It's almost like time didn't move while I was
Yeah.
gone for me, if that makes sense. Like in life, I mean.
I feel like you were like in that suspended, like you were
Yeah.
like, yeah, you were like an exception to everything else just moving around.
Yeah. No,
I get
absolutely.
it.
Like, there was tons of music that I'd never heard of before when I got home. And I'm like, what is this? This is horrible. Like there's movies that had came out that I had no clue what they were about or what they were, never heard of them before. There's a lot of stuff that had happened that we just didn't have visibility on. And I had started dating this girl, and she's now my wife, but we'd started dating before I left for Iraq. And right around Christmas time, right a little bit after Christmas time, is when we found out she was pregnant with our oldest daughter. And we weren't married. And I ended up getting married while in Iraq, mind you. So, kind of wonky story. So, I found this out from one of the guys I was deployed with. State of California, as long as one of the parties is deployed to a combat zone, they allow for a proxy marriage, meaning I do all the paperwork. I give somebody the power of attorney to say I do on my behalf. Right.
Hmm.
And so that's what we did, just so she can get benefits, start getting the medical stuff done, get into base housing or whatever we need to do, start doing BAH, like all that stuff. And so I left for Iraq, not married, not having any kids, not really thinking about kids until literally right before I left, to coming home to a wife who is almost 9 months pregnant when I get home. Right. Because my deployment was from January to August.
Uh-huh.
Our oldest daughter was born in September. So I'd been home for maybe not quite a month when we had our daughter. So literally left for being a Lance Corporal, got promoted to corporal while I was on that deployment. So left Lance Corporal, not married, no kids, came home as a corporal who's married and now has a newborn.
That is a lot to pick apart. So you come home, you're now an NCO, which meaning I'm sure that you're holding some kind of leadership role.
Yep.
You're also a husband, and you're about to be a father. What's going through your head when you're having this world shattering events happening all at once?
Honestly, like I really don't remember, because like everything happened so fast. And one thing I will say, the Marine Corps, even at this early stage in my Marine Corps career, Marine Corps taught me how to handle stress and not let it like distract from what's going on. Right.
Yeah.
And so like I did what felt natural and not worry about me, and just made sure that she was taken care of, making sure like she was okay. We ended up having like an actual wedding ceremony too after I got back. So at the end of August, had our wedding ceremony because we didn't actually get to have one. She went to the courthouse in San Diego, and then 2 days later, our oldest daughter was born.
Wow. That's definitely a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
Were there any other challenges during your tour in Iraq?
So no, I mean, honestly, Iraq wasn't that bad for me. I learned how to, I think what I take mostly from that one is that was my first kind of experience of not first world living conditions. Right. So that's probably like the biggest shock that I had going into that deployment was I'd never been in a third world country, never been away from first world type of living conditions.
Yeah.
So that part was a shock to me. But again, I had good NCOs and good leadership that kind of helped me get into a routine while we were there. Went to the gym quite a bit while I was there. So we got into a good routine. And I think that's really what kind of made that successful and not as I guess, adversely impactful for me was
Right.
being in a good routine that I could get sustain.
Yeah. I think a good routine can help keep you grounded.
Yes.
Definitely. You served in Afghanistan in 2009 and 2012. And you did mention, too, that each deployment got significantly worse. So can you give us a little bit more insight into that?
Yeah. So I'll kind of reiterate my timeline, because when I say things out loud, like my timeline, I think it kind of puts into perspective the tempo in which we deployed. January to August 2008 was Iraq. I came back in August, and then that following summer, I PCA'd, which means I moved locally to another unit at the same duty station. So still at Camp Pendleton, and went to a combat logistics battalion just on the other side of Pendleton on main side. Got there around July of 2009, and they were getting ready for deployment when I got there. Got there in July. Immediately in August, went to EMV, or CAX, used to be called CAX. They called it EMV at this time, I think. Mojave Viper, enhanced Mojave Viper or whatever. Went there for 29 Palms, went there for a month, came back, had our pre-deployment leave across September. So now my daughter's 1 year old while I'm on post-deployment leave or pre-deployment leave. And we leave the beginning of October to go to Afghanistan. And then, so October 2009, beginning of October 2009, I'm on my way to Afghanistan for the first time.
Shit. So if you don't mind me asking, and you don't have to answer this, did that put any kind of stress on the relationship going out to Afghanistan? Not much.
She had just turned 1. Yeah. Our oldest daughter had just turned 1 at this point. And I didn't think so at the time, but it definitely did. We had our ups and downs, but we came out on the other side of it better, I think, which is good. And then it got to a point to where we didn't really talk a lot during that deployment. So my first deployment, we actually got to talk quite a bit. Mm-hmm. My second deployment, not so much. We didn't get to talk a lot at all. We got to email back and forth, but that was really about it. We didn't really get to talk on the phone. I got to use a sat phone every now and then, not a lot though. So it was definitely a much different dynamic in how we could interact with each other. Living conditions were worse than my first deployment. We lived in tents in Afghanistan. There was tons of moon dust. Chow was okay. It was just a much different living condition than what I'd experienced on my first deployment. It's almost like it's like I've had a major shift, whether it be like personal shift because of either the time frame or the turnaround time or whatever. There's always something that happened every time that I was leaving or where I was going. Got to Afghanistan October 2009, had our first major casualty on Halloween Day 2009. Again, beginning of our deployment. Don't have time to really grieve. We did we had a good memorial service there at our camp where we were at, but then it was right back at it, right to the grind again. Couldn't look back, had to move forward. And then on the second half of that deployment, so this deployment was from October 2009 to April 2010. So I always reiterate time frames because at some point in 2008, 2009, and 2010, I was in country, whether it be Iraq or Afghanistan. And around Christmas of 2009, my battalion got tasked with providing a company detachment to support the offensive into Marja, which was a Taliban stronghold at the time in 2010. Went there, I was kind of like our lead. I was a sergeant at the time. I just got promoted to sergeant too before I PCA'd to the logistics battalion. So new sergeant, went on a deployment with them. I was actually the junior sergeant as well in our platoon, but I got chosen to do this detachment. I kind of was like the lead inside of our company COC. So I would manage really just any kind of logistics convoys that was supporting the infantry battalion we were supporting. And then I would help liaison and manage any kind of vehicle recoveries from IED blasts, stuff like that. So like I was kind of on both ends, whether it be logistics and then also vehicle recoveries and stuff. So we'd be taking all those calls and dispatch our guys out accordingly. So I was kind of did that. That was kind of like my main role at the second half of my deployment.
What was the major difference between that first or that 2009 tour in Afghanistan to your 2012 tour in Afghanistan?
The biggest difference was, again, the only time I went outside the wire in the 2009 to 2010 deployment was via convoy. Just went from where our main base was at, our main camp was at, to our firing base where we had our company detachment go kind of establish and support to op into Marja. In 2012, I was actually, I PCS to Camp Lejeune here in North Carolina and deployed to Afghanistan the second time with the infantry battalion. So again, first deployment to Iraq was with the wing, then with the logistics, and then now with the infantry battalion. So again, each thing got a little bit worse as it kind of goes across, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one, again, much worse living conditions than the last deployment. Slept in tents there's probably like 20 of us in a tent. There were like two of the tents put together, and there's like 20 or probably, I guess about 20 or 30 of us in a tent, sleeping on cot, and showered maybe once or twice a week. Got to do our laundry maybe once a week. Was pretty forward operating in Northern Helmand. Got to like pretty much shit in wag bags, threw them in a burn pit, pissed in PVC pipes, dug in the ground. Like that was our urinals. As we peed in our what we call piss tubes, I would watch kids play soccer in their front yard across the berm, so like a much different living condition, much different environment than I'd ever experienced ever in my entire life up to ever, even like to this day. That was a much different experience.
Other than those even worse living conditions with that third tour / second tour in Afghanistan, what were the other challenges that really stood out?
There were a couple of times our FOB did take small arms fire. There were a couple, luckily, missed rocket attempts on us. I went out on a lot more convoys because in my position, had to go to a couple of different FOBs to check on some of the Marines that we had, our comm Marines that were out at these other places, supporting the companies within the battalion. Eventually, with my position, we went and supported another operation kind of out further in Helmand. We were out probably 2-3 weeks, maybe a little bit longer. I don't honestly, like, it was like time kind of like stood still, and I really I don't really remember how long we were out there, but slept out of the back of an MRAP. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was definitely a much different experience than there's no even real comparison from the previous deployments to this one, just because of how different it was. And again, I was with the infantry battalion, so we lived the infantry life, even though we weren't infantrymen ourselves. Like, yeah. I wasn't kicking down doors, I wasn't running and gunning or anything like that, but like we still slept in the same places that they did for the most part.
Jon Cole's story continues in episode 51 of Chat 62. In the meantime, stay the course and Semper Fi.
Struggling? You're not weak. You're human. Dial 988, then press 1 for the Veterans Crisis Line. Train support that understands veterans. Stay the course. Thank you, Ozzy.